Ukrainians brace 4-20C despite energy truce. It will be a catastrophe. It's not the electricity cuts that Yulia Heluna struggles with most after the Russian airstrikes. It's the fact that it's so bitterly cold inside her own home. Like so many Ukrainians, she's had no central heating since Russia launched a wave of targeted attacks on the power grid in January. So Yulia now lives in a long, quilted coat and hat in her flat, and rests her feet on a saucepan full of hot water to keep them from freezing. If that's not enough, she lifts weights for 10 minutes to get warm. When the weather outside is above zero, it's just about bearable. But later this weekend, the temperature in Dnipro is forecast to plunge below -20°C. In Kyiv and elsewhere, it could be colder still. That's what's really scary, because all the heating pipes will burst, and we won't be able to repair them again. It will be a catastrophe, Yulia worries. On Thursday, Donald Trump announced that Vladimir Putin had agreed to halt attacks on Ukraine's major cities during the horrendously cold snap, supposedly for a week. The U.S. president called it very nice of his Russian counterpart to agree to an energy truce. But details were sparse from the start. The next day, the Kremlin clarified that Putin's burst of goodwill expires on Sunday, just as the coldest weather bites. There is usually a week or more gap between massive aerial attacks in any case, so it's unclear whether Russia has actually paused anything. There has been no major strike since January 24th, when hundreds of tower blocks in Kyiv lost power and heating. It has been quieter for a bit, but I don't know if that's linked. A doubtful Yulia says, suspecting the strikes will restart at any moment. I think Putin wants to turn people against their government, to have them say, "Just give Russia anything to make the stop," Yulia says. He wants to break us, but it won't work. Ukraine's heating system is breaking down, though. The Geneva Convention, the laws of war, bans attacks on infrastructure that cause excessive harm to civilians. But this is the fourth winter in a row that the energy grid has been targeted by Russia deliberately, leaving it more fragile and harder to repair after each successive strike. There were widespread power outages across western and central Ukraine on Saturday after a technical disruption affected power lines connecting its grid to those of Romania and Moldova, its government said. Engineers have been drafted in from Ukraine's national rail company and elsewhere, working around the clock to restore electricity and to defrost and patch up the heating pipes that run beneath giant apartment blocks in Dnipro, Kyiv, and beyond. An extended pause in strikes on the sector would provide a welcome break, but few Ukrainians trust Russia to deliver that. That's because, elsewhere, the deadly strikes have not stopped. On Friday, one person was killed and several injured when a bus in Kherson was hit by shelling, while there were multiple air raid warnings for drones. And all along the eastern front line, the fighting is as intense as ever, still forcing civilians to flee their homes. In Pavlorad, about 40 miles from the front, we found families dazed after evacuating, abandoning everything, with no idea whether they'll ever go back. They were queuing to register at a center for the displaced, offered a small handout of cash, food and toiletries by volunteers. Katerina cried as she told me how hard it had been to leave Vasilkivka, where she had lived all her life. It's like abandoning a piece of yourself, she said. But she had to protect her 2 young children, scared by the explosions. Our village wasn't touched at first, but now it's a total combat zone. The drones are hitting every day, her mother Irina described the Russian advance. One day there were 50 Shahid drones overhead,